Welcome back to Last Breath Diaries, where every heartbeat tells a story, and sometimes mercy isn't what it seems. I'm your host, a nurse who's seen life slip away in silence and in screams. But tonight's story, this one forces us to ask a question that has haunted medicine for centuries. When does compassion cross the line into cruelty? Christine Malice wasn't the kind of nurse that raised suspicion. She wasn't cold or detached. In fact, quite the opposite. She was caring, emotional, the kind of nurse who took time to know her patients, who sat at the bedside long after visiting hours ended, who whispered prayers into the darkness of the night shift. She worked at Hôpital François Quesnay, just outside of Paris, a place that saw its fair share of suffering. The palliative care unit, where Christine spent most of her time, was where people came to die. And for Christine, death wasn't something to fear, it was something to ease. That's how it started. She told colleagues that her patients would confide in her, that they wanted release, that they couldn't stand the pain anymore. And Christine said she couldn't stand to watch them suffer, so she started to help. At first, no one noticed. In the world of terminal care, death is expected. A patient's vitals drop, their breathing slows, their pulse fades. It's part of the job. But the deaths in Christine's ward began to follow a strange rhythm. Too many. Too soon, too clean. Her colleagues said she had an almost supernatural calm when a patient passed. While others were shaken, she'd quietly tidy the room, fold the sheets, and prepare the body before anyone else arrived. She said it was her way of honoring them. But nurses talk, and when whispers started spreading that Christine's patients were dying more frequently than anyone else's, a few eyebrows raised. One doctor even joked, half serious, half not, Christine must be the angel of death. What no one knew was just how close to the truth that nickname really was. One evening, an elderly man named Monsieur Laurent was admitted. Terminal lung cancer. Breathing was painful. Each inhale sounded like sandpaper scraping the inside of his chest. Christine took to him instantly. She'd sit beside him for hours, adjusting his pillow, cooling his forehead, whispering that she'd make sure he never suffered. 3 days later, he was dead. Christine said he asked her for peace. There were no witnesses, no written consent, no family present, just Christine's word and another silent body. But things began to spiral when a younger patient, a 39-year-old woman named Elodie, died unexpectedly under Christine's care. Elodie had advanced multiple sclerosis. Yes, but her condition had stabilized. She was scheduled for discharge within the week. Her family arrived to visit, only to be told she had passed during the night. Christine claimed Elodie had begged her to end the pain. But again, there was no record, no proof, and Elodie had never once told her family she wanted to die. That's when the hospital couldn't ignore it anymore. An internal review began quietly. They checked medication logs, and what they found made the room go still. Morphine levels were off the charts, doses unrecorded, medications signed out under Christine's name that were never officially administered or explained. When police finally questioned her, Christine didn't deny it. She said yes, she had helped. She said her patients wanted her help. She said she couldn't bear to see them in agony while everyone else just stood by. And then, almost casually, she mentioned she'd helped around 30 people die. 30. It was one of the most chilling confessions in French medical history. But here's where the story twists. After her confession hit the headlines, the world divided. Some called her a monster, a murderer hiding behind a nurse's uniform. Others called her a saint, a woman brave enough to do what others wouldn't. Protests formed outside the hospital, some holding candles for the victims, others holding signs that read, "Mercy is not murder." Under pressure, Christine changed her story. She said the police manipulated her, that she exaggerated, that she only helped patients who explicitly begged her to end their pain. But the evidence said otherwise. 6 of those deaths had no consent, no requests, no documentation, nothing. Those 6 became the core of her murder trial. In 2003, Christine Malice was convicted of murder and sentenced to 10 years in prison. The court called her actions a betrayal of medical ethics. Families called her a thief of goodbyes. And her colleagues, they were left to wrestle with the same impossible question. Was she trying to be merciful, or had she simply learned to play God? In interviews years later, Christine said she still believes she did the right thing. She said the real crime was making people suffer when they no longer wanted to live. But others couldn't forget the faces of those who never had a choice. A nurse's duty is to comfort, to heal, to do no harm. But what happens when comfort becomes the very thing that kills? Now let's talk about it. 1. Do you believe Christine Malever was a murderer or a nurse acting out of compassion? 2. Should healthcare workers ever be allowed to assist in a patient's death when laws say otherwise? 3. And at what point does mercy become murder? When we act for someone's peace or for our own relief? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think. And as always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on your notification bell so you never miss when we drop another chilling, real-life story on Last Breath Diaries.